Hi my dear students, and welcome to Sri Chandra Rank Zone classes once again. I'm Amit Ajmani, and in this lecture we will be taking up the question answers of the chapter metals and non-metals which we have completed in the previous lecture. I hope you all must have read and learnt all the topics related to the chapter, and you are all set for the question answers. So let us start up. Let us see the first question. The first question says that aluminium is used for making cooking utensils. Which of the following properties of aluminium are responsible for the same? First option is good thermal conductivity. For cooking utensils, we require thermal conductivity, so this property will be used. Good electrical conductivity. For cooking, we do not require electricity. So even if aluminium is a good conductor of electricity, but for cooking utensils, this property is not required. Third property is ductility. Once again, ductility is conversion into wires. In cooking utensils, we are not converting aluminium into wires, so this property is also not required. Fourth property is high melting point. Yes, this is required. Why? Because if it has low melting point, then that particular metal cannot be used for cooking because we'll be heating. So the property of good thermal conductivity and high melting point, that is first and fourth, are the properties which are responsible for the use of aluminium in cooking utensils. So let us see where exactly first and fourth are given. First is okay but not the second part, so we will cross it out. First is okay but not the third property, cross it out. Second and third both are not used. First and fourth, yes. This is the option we were looking for, so D is the correct option. Clear? Second question. The most abundant metal in the earth crust is, we know that it is aluminium. It is the most abundant metal in the earth crust. B. Aluminium is the right answer. Third question. The poorest conductor of heat among metals is, it is lead. Lead is the poorest conductor of heat among metals. So A, lead, we are going to mark as our answer. Right? Coming to the fourth question. Which property of metals is used for making bells and strings of musical instruments like sitar and violin? We are using the metals for making bells and sitars or the violin like musical instruments for making the strings of that. Which property is used? Is it sonorosity, sorousness, or malleability, or ductility, or conductivity? It is the sonorousness. Why? Because it should produce sound. Fine. So A will be our right option. Let us see the next question. What examiner is asking is, when aluminium oxide reacts with sodium hydroxide, that is caustic soda, some product with a blank is given to us will be formed along with water. Now what exactly is the product formed? When aluminium oxide reacts with NaOH, a salt called sodium aluminate, NaAlO2, this will be formed. Right? It is a kind of double displacement reaction, and it is a chemical reaction which is used to show the amphoteric nature of aluminium oxide. Here, aluminium oxide is acting as an acid. It is an acidic oxide which is reacting with the base, that is NaOH, sodium hydroxide, to form a salt NaAlO2. The name of NaAlO2 is sodium aluminate. Right? So C will be the correct answer. Coming to the sixth question. Which of the following is the correct arrangement of the given metals in ascending order of their reactivity. Zinc, iron, magnesium and sodium. We know the reactivity series is PbSc mesental. Here we have got sodium at the top out of this. Then we need to find out the magnesium. This is the magnesium. Then iron and zinc. This is zinc and this is iron. So first of all, sodium should come, zinc should not. Right? Sodium is the most reactive. After that, it should be magnesium. So we will strike out zinc. Magnesium is okay. Then it should be zinc coming first, then iron, not iron then zinc. So this is also wrong option. It should be zinc first, then iron. So this is our D part is the correct choice. Fine. You need to remember the reactivity series. There are so many ways to remember it. So you need to find out and check it out from the reactivity series as per the ascending order of the reactivity. What exactly will be the correct arrangement? Do not make a wild guess in air. Make sure that you just relate the reactivity series and then answer these type of questions. Fine. Next question. Which of the following pairs will give displacement reactions? We have studied what are displacement reactions. The reactions in which a more reactive metal will displace a less reactive metal. Let us see what all our options are given to us. Ferrous sulfate solution reacting with copper metal. Now copper is less reactive than iron, so it cannot displace, it cannot show the displacement reaction. Next is silver nitrate solution along with copper metal. Copper is more reactive than silver, so it will displace silver from silver nitrate and form copper nitrate. Next option is copper sulfate with silver. Now because copper is more reactive, silver cannot displace copper. Similarly, sodium chloride solution and copper. Copper is quite less reactive as compared to sodium. It cannot displace sodium. So B will be the right choice. So we will mark B as our answer. Okay. Coming to the next question. Non-metals form covalent chlorides. Why? We have to give the reason. Because they can give electrons to chlorine. They can't, because non-metals always gain electrons. They can share electrons with chlorine. Yes, this is what the reason is for the formation of covalent compounds. Any covalent compound is formed by the sharing of electrons between the non-metals. So B is the right answer, but let us see the other two options. They can give electrons, they can't. Non-metals cannot give electrons. They cannot share electrons, obviously not. So we will mark B. Clear? Coming to the next question. Which of the following oxide or oxides of iron will be obtained on prolonged reaction of iron with steam? Now, when iron reacts with steam, then iron oxide, this is ferrous oxide, this is also formed, and ferric oxide is also formed. These both the options are correct. Let us see the next option, that is Fe3O4. Now what exactly is Fe3O4? It is a mixture of FeO and Fe2O3. So because both these compounds are formed, that is why we will say that Fe3O4, which is also known as iron 2, 3 oxide. This is actually the product formed when iron will be prolongedly, it will be reacted with steam for long time. Clear? Fe2O3 is correct option in the fourth, but Fe2O4 is no formula for any compound, so this is also incorrect option. Right? Next question is, which of the following are not ionic compounds? Now we must know that ionic compounds are the compounds formed between metal and non-metal by the transfer of electrons. So any compound which is basically formed with metals and non-metals, that is an ionic compound. In this we have an exception also, right? The exception is when we are talking about the compounds of ammonium. Let us see the options given. KCl, potassium chloride. This is an ionic compound because potassium is a metal and chlorine is a non-metal. HCl, hydrogen chloride, is not an ionic compound. It is a covalent compound formed by the sharing of electrons between hydrogen and chlorine. Carbon tetrachloride, CCl4. Once again, carbon shares the electrons and form covalent chlorides. NaCl is sodium chloride. Sodium is a metal. So KCl first option and NaCl fourth option. These are the two ionic compounds. But we are not here to tell what are the ionic compounds in the following. The examiner is asking which of the following are not the ionic compounds. So HCl and CCl4 are not the ionic compounds. So the actual answer to this question is part second and third, and this part second and third is given to us in the B option. So we will mark B as the right answer to this particular question. Got it? Let us see the next. The electronic configuration of three elements X, Y and Z are as follows. X 2 4, it has got 4 electrons in its outermost shell, right? Y is 2 7, it has got 7 electrons in the outermost shell, and Z or Z is 2 1 electron in the outermost shell. Which two elements will combine to form an ionic compound? And write the correct formula. The first thing is, for the formation of an ionic compound we require a metal and a non-metal, and here we have got this to be our metal because it has got 1 electron in the outermost shell, and this Y is our non-metal. Why? Because it has got 7 valence electrons. Z is a metalloid having 4 outermost electrons. So we'll be requiring Z and Y. Fine. Now the valency of Z is 1. The valency of Y is also 1. So the formula which will be formed will be YZ or ZY, rather to be specific. It should be ZY because the metals come first. But in the options given, it is X2Y, X can't be there, XZ3 can't be there, Y2Z. Y is written always in front, and because we know the valency of both is 1 1, therefore YZ will be the preferred answer of question number 11. B part will be the answer. Got it? Next question is, the highly reactive metals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, etc. are extracted by these metals are extracted by the first option is electrolysis of their molten chlorides. Yes, this is the right answer, right? They are obtained by the electrolysis of their molten chlorides. So we will directly mark A as the right answer. Next, which of the following non-metal is lustrous? This we have studied while doing the physical properties of metals and non-metals. We have seen quite many few exceptions. In non-metals, the normal non-metals are non-lustrous except iodine. Iodine is a non-metal but still it is lustrous. Fine. Next, example of an amphoteric oxide is, first of all we need to know what are amphoteric oxides. These oxides which show the property of both being acidic and basic, they are called amphoteric oxides. And there are two oxides which are amphoteric oxides. One is aluminium oxide and second is zinc oxide. These two are amphoteric oxides. In the options, it is sodium oxide, potassium oxide, aluminum oxide, magnesium oxide. So we'll be marking aluminium oxide. You need to remember that another amphoteric oxide is zinc oxide. It is also acidic as well as basic in nature. Fine. Next, which one among the following is an acidic oxide? Now we know that only the oxides of non-metals can be acidic. Non-metals form acidic as well as basic oxides. Metals always form basic oxide. Sorry, non-metals can form acidic as well as neutral oxides. And the metals, they always form the basic oxides. So sodium oxide can't be acidic because sodium is a metal, it forms basic oxide. Carbon monoxide is a neutral oxide. Carbon dioxide is the one which is an acidic oxide because when it reacts with water, it forms carbonic acid. Aluminium oxide again is an oxide of metal, it will be basic. So carbon dioxide, C part is the right answer. Coming to the next question, the atomic number of an element X is 12. Which inert gas is nearest to X? Now, the atomic number is 12. So, if we will do the electronic configuration, it will be 2A2. So, the nearest will be either 28 or 288. These are the two options, and we can relate the nearest will be of 28, and 28 means atomic number 10 is of neon. So, neon is the inert gas which is nearest to this our X having atomic number 12. So we'll mark C, neon, to be our answer. Next question is the process in which a carbonator is heated strongly in the absence of air to convert it into metal oxide is called, we know that that process is called calcination. Calcination is the process used for converting carbonators into their respective metal oxides by heating them strongly in the absence of oxygen or air. C. Calcination is the right answer. Next question is oxides of moderately reactive metals like zinc, iron, nickel, tin, copper, etc. are reduced by using carbon as a reducing agent in the form of coke, right? Because we are talking about moderately reactive metals. If they have been more reactive metals, then we must have used aluminum or sodium or calcium. We use normally carbon for moderately reactive, aluminium for some more reactive metals, and if the reactivity increases, then we directly use electricity. We do the electrolytic reduction, which is also known as electrolysis, right? Since it is moderately reactive, carbon as a reducing agent is used in the form of coke. Clear? Next, in thermite welding, a mixture of dash and dash is ignited with a burning magnesium ribbon which produces molten iron metal as a large amount of heat is evolved. Now this thermite welding is done by using ferric oxide and aluminium powder, and this is a highly exothermic process. When ferric oxide, that is Fe2O3, reacts with aluminium, displacement reaction takes place. Aluminium, being more reactive than iron, will displace iron and will form aluminium oxide. Iron will be as a byproduct produced, and because it is a highly exothermic reaction, that is why this iron becomes in the molten form, right? And this thermite welding, we know that it is used to join the broken railway tracks mainly, right? Let us see the next question. Galvanization. Now what is galvanization? It is a method of protecting iron from it should be rusting by coating it with a thin layer of zinc. Quite simple. Zinc metal is used for galvanization. Fine. Next, an element X is soft and can be cut with a knife. We know the soft elements metals are X is, it may be a metal or a non-metal, right? It can be cut with a knife. This is very reactive to air and cannot be kept in open. It reacts vigorously with water. So there are many things in the form of hints given to you in the question. The first very thing is, because it reacts vigorously with water, it cannot be a non-metal. It has to be a metal because non-metals do not react with water. Now second thing, it is very reactive and cannot be kept in open in air. So we know that these two soft metals are sodium and potassium, especially sodium because it is kept under kerosene. So the answer will be sodium. Simply it can't be phosphorus because it is a non-metal, and magnesium is not that much reactive, and calcium also. It is not stored under kerosene, and calcium is not actually soft metal. So the answer is sodium. Fine. Coming to the next question now. Reaction between X and Y forms compound Z. X loses electron and Y gains electron. Which of the following properties is not shown by Z? Now Z is a compound which is formed by losing and gaining of electrons. That simply means that actually this Z is an ionic compound where X is a metal and Y is a non-metal. So which of the following property is not shown by Z? It has got high melting point. Yes, it does, because all the ionic compounds have high melting point. And if it has high melting point, it cannot have low melting point. It conducts electricity in its molten state. Yes, all the ionic compounds, they conduct electricity in their molten form, right? And in their aqueous form. It occurs as a solid. Yes, ionic compounds occur in the form of crystalline solids. So, having low melting point is the property which is not shown by Z. So, Z is our answer. Clear? Coming to the next question. The electronic configuration of three elements X, Y, Z are: X is 28, it is an inert gas having 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Y 287, this is chlorine or a non-metal we can say in general terms, having 7 valence electrons. And Z is 282, now it is a metal having 2 valence electrons. Which of the following is correct? X is a metal? No, because X we have just said it is a inert gas. Y is a metal? No, it is a non-metal. Z is a non-metal? Z is not a non-metal because it is a metal. Y is a non-metal and Z is a metal. Yes, this is the right answer. Y is a non-metal and Z is a metal. D will be our correct option. Next question is, amalgam is an alloy of. Now it is an alloy of mercury. Amalgam is an alloy which mainly consists of mercury as one of its constituent metals. Apart from mercury, we can add anything else like sodium or silver, and then this is called sodium amalgam or silver amalgam. Right? In amalgam, mercury has to be present. Fine. So B will be the right answer. Next question is, copper objects lose their shine and form green coating of. Now when copper is exposed in open air, it reacts with the oxygen, water and carbon dioxide. Mainly with water and carbon dioxide it reacts, and it forms a coating of basic copper carbonate. The formula is CuOH whole twice dot CuCO3. CuCO3 is copper carbonate and copper hydroxide is basic in nature, so we call it basic copper carbonate, and it is a green color coating, and the reaction is basically called corrosion. So it is the corrosion of copper when it is exposed in open air due to the formation of basic copper carbonate layer over its surface. Fine. So C, basic copper carbonate, is the right answer. Let us come to question number 26. The lightest liquid metal is, it is cesium. Cesium is the lightest liquid metal. Don't go only for the word liquid, because then you will mark mercury as a liquid metal. We are talking about a metal which is lightest in its liquid state, that is cesium. Fine. Mercury is quite dense, quite heavy. Next, which of the statements about the reaction ZnO plus CO gives Zn plus CO2 is correct? Now here we can see that carbon monoxide is reacting as actually a reducing agent, which is reducing zinc oxide into zinc by taking oxygen with it and forming carbon dioxide. So here zinc oxide is being oxidized? No, it is being reduced. Carbon monoxide is being reduced? No, addition of oxygen is oxidation. So carbon monoxide is getting oxidized. Carbon dioxide is being oxidized? No, because carbon dioxide is the product formed by the oxidation of carbon monoxide. Zinc oxide is being reduced? Yes, here zinc oxide is getting reduced into zinc. So D is the right answer to question number 27. Fine. Let us see the next question. The most abundant element in the universe. Now it is hydrogen. All the stars, our sun, they are all hydrogen gases. They are made up of hydrogen. So it is the most abundant element in the universe. It is hydrogen. Fine. Next, in extraction of copper, the flux used is, the flux uses silicon dioxide. It is SiO2. This is the flux used in the extraction of copper. So B, SiO2 is the right answer. Fine. Next, Cu2s plus 3Cu2O gives 6Cu plus SO2. Now here Cu2s, that is copper sulfide, is getting reduced to copper. This process is used in the extraction of copper. Now this process is it auto reduction, chemical reduction, electrolytic reduction, or none of these? This is auto reduction. Remember, when we taught the extraction of copper, we told that first of all, copper sulfide. This copper sulfide is basically roasted, Cu2s. This is roasted, that is heated in the presence of oxygen, and it forms copper oxide plus sulfur dioxide. Now, when half of the copper sulfide has been converted into copper oxide, then this auto reduction takes place. This copper oxide automatically reacts with copper sulfide and reduces it to form copper. So this is an example of auto reduction. So A will be the right answer. Okay. Next question. Which of the following represents mercury 1 ion correctly? Now we are talking about mercury 1 ion. Now which of them will be mercury 1 ion? We know that mercury has two forms, either mercury 1 ion or mercury 2 ions, right? The first option is Hg plus. Second is Hg2 plus. It cannot be. Second is Hg2 2 plus or Hg. Right answer is Hg plus. This is mercury 1 ion, right? Next question. Bauxite is mixed with cryolite so as to, now this is the extraction of aluminium that we are talking about, in which aluminium is extracted from its oxide ore, which is called bauxite. Now this bauxite is mixed with cryolite. Why is it done so? The first reason is, rightly said, to reduce its melting point, and it is also used to increase its electrical conductivity. Now, molten cryolite acts as a solvent? No, this is not the right answer. It doesn't act as a solvent, and it increases its melting point. Now, when cryolite is added, it is to reduce the melting point. So, it can't be to increase the melting point. Along with cryolite, fluorspar is also added, and they both help in the easy extraction of aluminium. So the right options are 1 and 2, and this 1 and 2 D part is the correct answer. Bauxite and cryolite are mixed because it reduces its melting point and increases its electrical conductivity. Fine. Which of the following is purest form of carbon? Is it diamond or graphite or fullerene or charcoal? Now, to be very honest, students, few books say that diamond is the purest form of carbon, and a few books also state fullerene to be the purest form of carbon. So now, which option should we mark? We should mark diamond. Why? Because in diamond, the composition is consistent and constant throughout. So we say that diamond is the purest form of carbon. So you should mark A to be the right answer, right? Next question. An element X is yellow colored solid, insoluble in water but soluble in carbon disulfide. First thing is, it is yellow colored and insoluble in water. It is a non-metal. It has a low melting point of 114.5 degrees Celsius. It boils at 445 degrees Celsius, and it burns with pale blue flame, forming pungent smelling gas Y, which turns moist blue litmus to red. Now, because it is turning blue to red, it is an acidic gas. And then finally it becomes colorless. Now, what are X and Y? X is iodine. Sorry, it is a yellow colored insoluble. X is sulfur, and the gas formed by burning it in blue flame, that is sulfur dioxide, which is an acidic gas which converts into sulfurous acid when reacts with water. And this is acidic, it will convert the moist blue litmus to red. So C part, that is sulfur and sulfur dioxide, this is our right answer. Okay. Next question is, in electrolytic refining of copper, the electrolyte used is, now in the refining of copper, we use the electrolyte to be acidified copper sulfate. This is the electrolyte which we use, so we'll mark C to be our answer. Fine. Coming to the next question. Which of the following ore is concentrated by froth flotation process? Now, froth flotation process is done always for sulfide ores. So, zinc carbonate and zinc oxide are directly cut off. They are not the answers. Either it is zinc sulfide or sodium sulfide. Right? Now, sodium sulfide is a very reactive metal, sodium. So, it won't be done through froth flotation. So, the answer to this question is ZnS, that is zinc sulfide. This is concentrated by froth flotation process. Fine. Next is, which of the following metals liberate hydrogen with 5% HNO3, that is nitric acid? First thing, we know that these are only two metals which react with nitric acid to form hydrogen. Why so? because nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. So if the metals react with nitric acid, hydrogen is not liberated but is oxidized into water. But manganese and magnesium, these two can liberate hydrogen with nitric acid, dilute nitric acid. So third and fourth, these are our options which are given in choice number C. So we will mark C. Okay. Coming to the next question. Which one of the following metals do not react with cold as well as hot water? Now, those metals which do not react with cold as well as hot water are those which come down in the reactivity series. Sodium and calcium and magnesium are all very reactive, but iron is the one which comes in the lower middle of the reactivity series. It is comparatively a lesser reactive metal. That is why it only reacts with water in the form of steam. So iron, D option, is the one that you are going to mark as your answer. Let us see the next question. Which of the following oxides of iron would be obtained on prolonged heating of iron with steam? This we have already done. This is an NCERT exemplar problem which has come in the exam, and we have marked Fe3O4, which is a mixture of FeO and Fe2O3, ferrous oxide and ferric oxide. So this iron 2,3 oxide, Fe3O4, will be formed when oxides of iron, that is when iron is reacted with steam on prolonged reaction. Okay. Next question is, generally metals react with acids to give salt and hydrogen gas. Which of the following acids does not give hydrogen on reaction with metals except manganese and magnesium? This is the question we just saw above. It is the nitric acid. Why? H2SO4, sulfuric acid and HCl, they liberate hydrogen gas when reacted with metals, but nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. So except manganese and magnesium, no other metal reacts with nitric acid and produces hydrogen, because that hydrogen is oxidized into water. So C, HNO3 is the right answer. Next, which of the following are not ionic compounds? Again, we have seen this same question, and it is an NCERT exemplar problem which has come in the exam, and we have seen that KCl and NaCl are ionic compounds. HCl and CCl4, hydrogen chloride and carbon tetrachloride, these two are covalent compounds, and we have marked second and third, B, to be our right answer. Next question is, which of the following metals exist in their native state in nature? Now we know that metals occur both in combined as well as in native state. All the metals which are reactive, they will combine with any other particular thing in the atmosphere and will be obtained in their combined form, never in their native form. In the native form, only those metals are obtained or found which are very less reactive. So if we remember the reactivity series, we know that out of copper, gold, zinc and silver, gold and silver are the least reactive among these. So they are found in their native nature. Second and fourth. So the answer is second and fourth given in the C choice. This we are going to mark as our answer. Let us come to the next question. Metals are refined by using different methods. Which of the following metals are refined by electrolytic refining? We actually obtain gold and copper with the process of electrolytic refining. Sodium and potassium are very reactive. So when we actually reduce them, we do electrolysis, then only we get sodium and potassium in their purest form. We do not have to refine them. It is the gold and copper. first and second option which are given in the choice A. So we will mark A to be our answer. Coming to the next question. Generally, metals are solid in nature. Which one of the following metals is found in the liquid state at room temperature? Everybody knows the answer. It is mercury. It is the only metal which is found in the liquid state at room temperature. So D, mercury, you are going to mark as your answer. Right? Coming to the next question. Which of the following metals are obtained by electrolysis of their chlorides? Now, this is what exactly we just before two questions we discussed it, that the electrolysis of very reactive metals, that process is done in order to obtain the metals which are very highly reactive, and the options are sodium, potassium, iron and copper. Out of these, sodium and calcium, they are quite reactive, and that is why they are obtained by the electrolysis of their chlorides in molten state. So first and second option are correct, which are given in choice D, which we are going to mark as our answer. Clear? Coming to the next question. Which one of the following four metals would be displaced from the solution of its salt by the other three metals? So indirectly we have to relate which among these is the least reactive. Again, talking about the reactivity series, we know that magnesium comes above, silver is quite unreactive, zinc in the middle, copper above silver. So silver is the one which can be displaced by all these three, magnesium, zinc and copper, because silver is the least reactive metal among these four. So the rest of the three are going to easily displace this silver from its salt solution. Okay, let us see what exactly is the next question saying. 2 ml each of concentrated HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, and HNO3, and a mixture of concentrated HCl and concentrated HNO3 in the ratio 3:1 were taken in a test tube. This is exactly we are doing to form aqua regia, right? So these test tubes are labeled as ABC. A small piece of metal was put in each test tube. No change occurred in test tube A and B, in which we have taken HCl and HNO3. But the metal got dissolved in test tube C. The metal could be, we know that aqua regia can dissolve even the gold, which is otherwise so unreactive that it doesn't react with HCl or HNO3 separately. But when we take a mixture of HCl and HNO3 in the ratio 3:1, that is we form aqua regia. That aqua regia will dissolve gold. So gold AU is the right answer. Got it? Next question is, an electrolytic cell consists of positively charged cathode or negatively charged anode? No, not both of these. It is positively charged anode and negatively charged cathode. Anode and cathode are found, but we need to relate that cathode is the negative terminal and anode is the positive terminal. So this is what exactly is found in an electrolytic cell. Option 3 and 4, which is given in the choice B part. So we'll mark B, option 3 and 4. Clear? Coming to the next question. An element A is soft and can be cut with a knife. This is very reactive to air, cannot be kept open in air. Reacts vigorously with water. Identify the element from the following. We have just seen this question around 10-15 questions back. This is sodium, which is a metal, very reactive metal, white soft, even cut with a knife. And it is always stored under kerosene for the same reason. Fine. Coming to next, alloys are homogeneous mixtures of a metal with a metal or a non-metal. We know that. Which among the following alloy contain non-metal as one of its constituents? Now, brass. We know that brass is a homogeneous mixture of copper and zinc. Both of them are metals. Bronze is a homogeneous mixture and alloy of copper and tin. Again, both of these are metals. Amalgam contains mercury as one of the metals and another metal, but it is steel which contains carbon along with nickel and iron. So carbon is a non-metal. So it is steel which is an alloy which consists of a non-metal among these four options. So D we will mark as our right answer. Coming to the next question, which among the following alloys contains mercury as one of its constituents? It is basically amalgam. Let us see which we are talking about. Stainless steel? No, it doesn't contain mercury. Alnico? No, it is aluminium, nickel and cobalt. Solder is of lead and tin. It is the zinc. Amalgam. Simply word amalgam means mercury has to be present. So D, zinc amalgam is our right answer. Coming to the next question. Now, this has also been from NCERT exemplar and it has been in the exam. All these NCERT exemplar questions are asked so many times in 1 year or another. This we have already done. Reaction between X and Y forms compound Z. X loses electron, Y gains electron. That is why Z is an ionic compound and it has got low melting point. This was the property which is not shown by Z. Because ionic compounds have high melting point, they conduct electricity in the modular state and they occur in their crystalline solid form. Right? Next question again. The electronic configuration of three elements X, Y, Z are X 28, it is an inert gas, Y is 287, this is basically a non-metal, and Z is a metal. So we have seen that this D option was correct, that Y is a non-metal and Z is a metal. The rest three options were wrong. X is non-metal, it is not a metal, it is an inert gas. Z is a metal and Y is a non-metal. So D is the right answer. Right? Again, although metals form basic oxides, which of the following metals form an amphoteric oxide? Aluminium and zinc. These are the two metals which form amphoteric oxides. Next question. Which of the following can undergo a chemical reaction? Now this is good question. Let us try to relate. Magnesium sulfate reacts with iron. Will the reaction take place? No, because if you remember the reactivity series, magnesium is more reactive than iron. Iron cannot displace magnesium. Next reaction is magnesium sulfate reacting with lead. Again, lead cannot displace magnesium. Zinc sulfate reacting with iron. Now zinc is more reactive than iron. Iron cannot displace zinc. Hence once again there will be no reaction taking place. Last option will take place. Copper sulfate plus iron. Now iron being more reactive than copper will displace copper and will form iron sulfate. Copper sulfate is of blue color. This blue color will fade away and iron sulfate, which is dirty green in color, that will be formed and copper will be displaced. Right? Now, this is the question which I think you need to note down because these are not found mainly in most of the books. Name of the first synthetic element. Is it U or Zn or Tc or Am? U everybody knows it is uranium. Z everybody knows it is zinc. But Tc are specially written so that you may note it down. This is technetium and Am is americium. So basically it is Tc, technetium. It was the first synthetic element. We know that there are certain elements which occur in nature in their normal natural form, whereas a few elements are artificially or synthetically made. Tectinium is one of them, and this technetium is the first synthetic element. Clear? Next question. The most impure form of iron is, again we have got silver can't be there, stainless steel is an alloy, wrought iron and cast iron. Among these, the most impure form is cast iron, which contains a good percentage of carbon as an impurity. Fine. So this is the most impure form, impurest form of iron. Next question is coinage metals are. Now this, when we were taking up the uses of metals, I specially told that this question is asked. Coinage metals, those metals which are used to make coins, these are calcium. No coins are made of calcium. Copper, yes. Silver, yes. Gold, yes. Sodium, can't make the coin with sodium and potassium. Copper, zinc can. Cesium, cesium can't make it. So coinage metals are copper, silver and gold coin. Silver coin, gold coin, copper coins. Clear? So these three are the coinage metals. B is the right answer. Now try to relate the diagrams. Let's see what the examiner is asking here. Which one of the following figures correctly describes the process of electrolytic refining? Now let us see which of these is the correct process, and let us see the difference between them. In this, we have got cathode, which is shown as the positive terminal, right? The first thing is in itself wrong. We are going to consider it wrong. Here again, cathode is being related to the positive terminal. These are the things you need to relate first. So this is also wrong option. Now here in the third option, we have got cathode is the negative terminal, anode is the positive terminal. So first two things are correct. Next, we are talking about the extraction of copper. Copper ions are present. Now, copper ions which are present are extracted, and we have just, if you remember, done this question previously in the same lecture, that we use acidified copper sulfate solution as an electrolyte, right? And the impurities will be found below anode, which are also known as anode mud. So this is the correct figure. Let us see the next. Cathode is rightly said, right? And anode is also rightly said. Now what exactly they are showing is that copper ions are actually going towards the positive terminal, which can't be, because copper ions being positively charged will be going towards the negative terminal, that is the cathode. So C is our right answer. D is wrong. Fine. I hope you are able to relate why C is the correct answer. You need to know the reason for it. Fine. Coming to the next question is an essential constituent of amalgam. Of course, it is mercury. We have already discussed this thing 2 or 3 times. So it is mercury, which is an essential constituent of amalgam. Next, metal M occurs in the earth crust in its oxide M2O3. Now it can also be Fe2O3 and Al2O3. Both are the possibilities. So let us check out the rest of the question to get a hint. An alloy of this metal is used in making aircrafts. Now, this metal is aluminium, because we know duralium or duralumin, that is an alloy of aluminium which is used in making aircraft bodies. The ore of the metal M is, now we know that the ore of aluminium is called bauxite ore. So C, bauxite, will be our correct answer. Fine. Coming to the next question, which is the purest form of gold? It is 24 karat gold. It is the purest form of gold. 24 carats, right? Next, stainless steel is an alloy of iron, carbon, and what else? It contains chromium. Yes. It contains nickel. Yes. It contains both of these. So chromium and nickel, we will mark C to be our answer. Stainless steel is an alloy which is made up of iron, carbon, chromium, and nickel. Okay. Next, which was the first metal discovered by primitive man? First metal discovered by primitive man, it was copper, right? Copper was first metal which was discovered by the primitive people, primitive man. Okay. Next, who classified the metals, elements in metals and non-metals? It was Lavoisier, who was the one who classified the elements into metals and non-metals. Clear? Which metal can be cut by a knife? Two metals, sodium and potassium, can be cut with a knife. The options given are silver, zinc, sodium, and aluminium. Sodium is the right answer. It is the metal which is soft enough to be cut with a knife. Clear? Coming to the next question. Which of the following elements is a metalloid? Lead is a metal, tin is a metal, antimony is a metalloid, barium is again a metal, so antimony, it is a metalloid. We know what are metalloids? The elements which show the properties of both metals and non-metals. Fine. Next, the non-metal which is used to make electrodes of dry cells. Now we know that the electrodes of dry cells are made up of carbon, graphite, which is a form of carbon that is used to make electrodes of dry cells. So the answer is carbon. It is the non-metal which is used to make electrodes of dry cells. Next question. Which of the following reflects about 90% of the light falling on it? Is it gold, sodium, silver, or aluminium? It is silver. And that is why silver is considered and called to be the best reflector of light. All the mirrors, they are made by having a silver coating at the back, because silver is the best reflector, because it reflects about 90% of the light falling on it. So B option, silver, is the answer to this question. Got it? Coming to the next one. Which metal is the best conductor of heat and electricity? Once again, it is silver. Silver is the best conductor of heat and electricity. Even copper and gold are also quite good conductors, but the best one is silver. So A, silver, will be the answer. Clear? Coming to the next question, 71st. Non-metal used for making the tip of matchstick. It is phosphorus. This phosphorus is used in making the tip of the matchstick, which lights when it is rubbed on the chemicals present on the side of the matchstick. So A, phosphorus, is the option that we are going to mark to be the correct answer to question number 71. Coming to the next, which metal is used to make thermometer? I think everybody knows the question. Quite a simple one. It is mercury. If such type of questions come in our exams, I think we all should be very thankful and fortunate enough that we have got such simple questions. Right? So it is mercury which is used in making the thermometers. Next, the metal present in hemoglobin is again a very simple question. It is iron, and the deficiency of iron causes a disease called sickle cell anemia. It reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of hemoglobin. So let's not go into bio. Let's continue with chemistry part, and let's try to restrict ourselves to metals and non-metals. Coming to the next question. The thin foils of which metals are used to decorate sweets? Now, when we are talking about sweets, It is the silver. It's not aluminium or zinc or copper. It is silver metal. But if we have been using the word, the thin foils of which metals are used to make the medicines, right? That is aluminium. Fine. Silver is used to decorate sweets. Okay. Next question is non-metal which occurs in a solid state at room temperature are. Now these are carbon and sulfur. Helium in the gaseous state, nitrogen in the gaseous state, bromine in the liquid state. Fine. So we will go with option number A, that is carbon and sulfur. Next question is complete the chemical reaction. Now aluminium reacting with water to form something and liberate hydrogen. We know that when aluminium reacts with water, it will form aluminium hydroxide and hydrogen gas will be liberated. This is a simple displacement reaction shown by aluminium. Fine. Coming to the next question. An element reacts with oxygen to give a compound with a high melting point. This compound is also soluble in water. So an element is reacting with oxygen and forming an oxide. It may be a metal oxide or a non-metal oxide. But when we are saying that it is soluble in water, that means we are talking about an ionic compound. Again, another hint for us is that it is having a high melting point. Once again, it is an ionic compound, and ionic compounds are made up of metals. So directly carbon and silicon will be struck off. We are left with calcium and iron, right? Now we say that it is a high melting point having, and it is soluble in water. We'll go with calcium. Fine. Calcium reacts with oxygen to form calcium oxide, which is readily soluble in water also, and it has got a high melting point also. Right? So the answer is A. Going for the next question. Which of the following pairs will give displacement reactions? This type of question we have already seen above, and this we have to solve by keeping the reactivity series in mind. We need to relate that NaCl reacting with copper, will it be able to displace sodium? Checking from the reactivity series, we get the answer no. Copper is very less reactive as compared to sodium. It cannot displace sodium from sodium chloride. This reaction cannot occur. Magnesium chloride with aluminium, again aluminium cannot reduce magnesium chloride. It cannot displace magnesium, being less reactive. Iron sulfate with silver, silver cannot displace iron, no reaction possible. Silver nitrate with copper, yes, copper is more reactive than silver. It will displace silver to form copper nitrate. Now if you remember, in the above question also the actual answer was same, but here the choices, the other options are different. So you need to relate that copper will react with silver nitrate and it will displace silver to form copper nitrate, and silver will be displaced off, right? Looking at the next question. In electrolytic refining, impure copper is made of. Now in the electrolytic refining, impure copper is taken at the positive terminal, and the positive terminal is anode. So A, anode is the right answer. Next question. Element used in making barometer. Barometer is made up of iron. It's not copper or mercury or tin. It's iron which is used for making barometers. Next, oxides of potassium are reduced by. Is it by heat alone? It can't be, because potassium is a very reactive metal and just by heating we can only reduce very less reactive metal oxides into metal. It cannot be reduced by using carbon or aluminum as a reducing agent, because once again potassium is much more reactive than carbon or aluminum. It is the electrolytic reduction which is used for top reactive metals like sodium and potassium. Fine. So D, electrolytic reduction, will be our answer. Coming for the next question. Cinnabar is an ore of, now cinnabar is HGS, mercuric sulfide. It is an ore of mercury. B, mercury will be the right choice. Next, rusting can be prevented by, we know that rusting is of iron. When iron is exposed to damp air, that is the oxygen and water vapors, moisture, then rusting of iron takes place. And to prevent rusting, we need to prevent iron getting in contact with damp air. And this can be done by painting. Yes, because painting forms a layer which prevents iron coming into the contact with damp air. Greasing also does the same thing. Galvanization is the process of zinc coating. It is also done for rusting. So our choice will be D. All of these processes are used to prevent rusting of iron. Right? So D is our answer. Next question. Which among the following is a noble metal? Noble gases, we know they are different. He is asking about noble metal. It is platinum. Why? Because it is the least reactive metal. It never reacts with anything. It is even lesser reactive than silver and gold. It comes at the bottom of the reactivity series, and that is why it is called a noble metal, because just like other noble gases, even platinum does not react with anything. So platinum, C is the right answer. Coming to question number 84. Now this is good question. Match the column 1 and column 2. In column 1 we have got calcination, roasting, reduction with carbon, and sulfidose. In column number 2 we have got froth flotation. There is something missing here. Third option is absence of air. Fourth is presence of air. Now we know that calcination is done in the absence of air. It is heating of the carbonate ores. Now, because we are so knowledgeable, we are so intelligent, then even though this second process right now is somewhere somehow missing, I don't know why it is misprinting or something, but still we can make out the answer. Let us see how. Calcination is the process of heating of carbonate ore in the absence of air to convert them into oxide form. Roasting. What is the definition of roasting? It is the process of heating a sulfide ore in the presence of air to convert it into oxide form. Reduction with carbon, froth flotation. No, froth flotation is related to the enrichment of sulfide ores, concentration of ore. Sulfide ores are concentrated by the process of froth flotation. So reduction with carbon, there must be something here. We are not yet able to relate what it was, but still we can match the other things. A is matched with 3. So A matched with 3, rest are not 3, all are wrong answers. Confirm it. B matches with 4. B is getting matched with 4. D matches with 1. D is with 1. So we are just left with C should match with 2, whatever 2 was. Right? So A is our answer. See, without even knowing what was the given option, we are able to attempt this question. Fine. Next, which of the following is a correct reactivity series? Now once again, do not try to attempt it. This is PBSC mesental. This is how the acronym, the first alphabet we are using. Then it is hydrogen and copper, mercury, silver, gold, platinum. This is the reactivity series, right? Now let us see which elements are used here. Potassium, yes, it should come first. Sodium, it is coming next. Magnesium is here. Calcium is here. So calcium should be above magnesium, which is not given. So this is a wrong option. Next, we have got potassium is okay, calcium is okay, magnesium is also okay, but sodium is wrong because sodium comes above calcium and magnesium. Wrong choice. Next, potassium is okay, calcium again is okay, sodium is okay, PSC or PCS. There are two ways of writing it. Magnesium comes here, right? Next option is potassium is okay, then comes sodium, then comes calcium, then comes magnesium. So D is the correct answer. Potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium. Fine. So do not actually try to attempt it in air. Please write down or relate the reactivity series. There is very small difference between such choices. We need to be very careful while attempting such type of questions, right? Next, 86th question says non-metal that exists in liquid state. Simple is bromine. We know that it is the only non-metal existing in liquid state. Mercury is the only metal. So when he is asking about non-metal, our simple choice is bromine. Next, oxides of non-metals will turn red litmus to blue, no effect on litmus, blue litmus to red, or none of these. Now first thing, red litmus to blue are just being converted by the basic oxides, and the non-metal oxides are acidic oxides, right? So acidic oxides will convert blue litmus to red. So B is the right answer. Fine. Coming to the next question, metals are malleable and ductile because. Why metals are malleable? Why they can be beaten or hammered down into sheets? Why they are ductile? They can be drawn into wires. Reason is, are they lustrous? That is why. Not at all. They are sonorous. Don't have any type of relation with it. Next is, layers of metals atoms can slip over each other. This is the reason why metals are malleable and ductile. They attain form close clusters? No. So C is the right reason of why metals are malleable and ductile, because the layers of metals, they can slip over each other. Clear? Next question is, iron is galvanized when it is dipped in. We know that galvanization is the process in which iron is coated with zinc. So simple. It is molten zinc. Iron is dipped into molten zinc, then it is taken out and it is cooled. So there will be a zinc coating above the iron article, which will prevent its further rusting. Clear? Next question. PbO plus C. This is lead oxide plus carbon gives Pb plus CO. Next reaction is ZnO plus C gives Zn plus CO. Now in both these above reactions, we see that carbon is acting as an oxide. It is acting as a reducing agent, which is reducing lead oxide and zinc oxide into lead and zinc respectively by taking oxygen from them. So here these lead oxide and zinc oxide are getting reduced. So let us see. Here carbon is reduced? No, because oxygen is added to carbon. So carbon is actually getting oxidized. Carbon monoxidized? Something wrong in this? No option. Metal oxide is reduced? Yes. Okay, carbon monoxide is oxidized. This was actually carbon monoxide is oxidized. So carbon monoxide in itself it is basically a byproduct, and it is by the oxidation of carbon that carbon monoxide is formed. And we should know that substance oxidized, substance reduced, oxidizing agent and reducing agent are always taken from the reactant side and never from the product side. Fine. So carbon monoxide, we should not consider it at all because it is a product. Metal oxide is reduced. Yes. Here PbO is a metal oxide which has been reduced into metal lead. Again, zinc oxide is a metal oxide which is reduced to zinc. So C is the option we are going to mark. Here metal oxide is not oxidized, it is getting reduced. Carbon is getting oxidized. Okay. Let us see the next question. Metals react with chlorine to form. Now whenever metals are going to react with chlorine, chlorine is a non-metal which will gain electron and metals will lose electron, and thus the compound formed is due to the gaining and losing of electrons, and such type of compounds are ionic compounds. So it will be ionic chloride that will be formed by the reaction of metals with chlorine. Clear? Next is copper corrodes in moist air containing carbon dioxide and oxygen and changes to this. I have written the reaction also. It is basic copper carbonate and it's a green coating which is formed, and this process is corrosion of copper. Right? This is green CuCO3 dash CuOH whole twice, and the name of this compound is basic copper carbonate. Okay. Next question is silver articles turn black after a period of time due to the formation of. Now this is basically the corrosion of silver, and it is corroded to form silver sulfide, which causes the blackness of the silver. When silver is kept in the open for quite some time, it will corrode due to the formation of silver sulfide. Clear? Next, a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals, obviously it is alloy. It is not allotrope. Allotrope is basically the existence, the forms of a particular substance or element in nature whose physical properties are different but chemical properties are same. Just we have studied the allotropy. Allotropes, carbon has three types of allotropes: diamond, graphite and fullerenes. Isotope, no. We should know that isotopes are the forms whose atomic number is same and atomic mass is different. Those are isotopes, right? So it is neither allotrope nor isotope. These are the alloys. Clear, children? So this is all about the questions related to metals and non-metals. Quite few questions, rather lot many questions we have discussed, and I am very much sure that among these you must be able to relate a few questions which you never knew before doing these. And I really hope that you have kept those questions in mind and you must have noted it down in your notebooks. If not, these are still fresh. You can just consult your friends also, and you can note down those questions which you think were different or which you think that the answers you never knew. Got it? And this I always recommend, I always advise, while doing the question answers, always keep a pen and notebook to note down new things, because you won't be able to remember them after 1 month or 2 months of studying them, right? So if you have noted down, you can always revise it from there and keep them fresh in your mind. So this is all about metals and non-metals. I hope all of you must have understood. All of you must be knowing the answers of each and every question related to this that we have discussed. And if you are lacking somewhere that you know better, you will compensate for it. You will prepare well by the next class, because in the next lecture we'll be starting up the next chapter, new chapter. Clear to all? So I'll be taking your leave. We are ending up this lecture here only. We'll meet very soon for the next class with a new topic. Until then, study hard, take care of yourself, have a great time. Thank you so much.